Good morning. Welcome back to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. All right, we've been talking about all the different topics that go in with retirement planning. We've talked a bit about taxes. We've talked about Social Security. We've talked about investing. Here's another area, and this is healthcare. All right, so understanding how Medicare works. This is another big, huge area when it comes to planning. So you have, if you're looking at original Medicare, you have Part A, which is your hospital insurance. You've got Part B, which is outpatient, and then Part D, which is prescriptions. And then we have another referred to as Part C, or Medicare Advantage plans. We'll get into those as well. But let's stick first with that original Medicare. So if you have these, now what happens with a hospitalization, Part A, that covers, now that doesn't cost you anything as far as premiums, however it does have deductibles and co-insurance you may have to pay. Part B, now you pay a premium, and it just went up this year, so it's out I think $134 per month. And in addition you have deductibles and copay. And then you have Part D, your prescription, and that's a whole weird thing in terms of the way that works, right? Because you've got coverage, but and you've got a premium. It's around $35, give or take, a month, and then you've got still deductibles and co-insurance, and then there's this donut hole area where you're going to have to pay more out of pocket. So understanding how the prescription plan works, and under original Medicare, you're going to need a Medicare supplement plan to help fill in these gaps, all right? And this as far as these deductibles and co-insurance. So a Medicare supplement plan, when you're on a Medicare supplement plan, are different ones, and they're going to range and cost maybe $100, give or take, plus or minus, depending on the type of plan that you elect. And that's to help cover the deductibles and co-insurance that you have, except for prescriptions. Medicare supplements do not cover anything with regard to prescriptions. And that's where a Medicare Advantage plan could have some advantages for you, because it can cover vision, it can cover dental care, it can cover some prescription costs depending on the plan you elect. Sometimes you can get Medicare Advantage plans at no additional money out of pocket, so they can be a cost savings. Just depends on the level of coverage you want. And looking at Medicare.gov is a good way to kind of start sorting through these based on where you're at in your particular situation. Understanding, by the way, with Medicare Advantage plans, now you have a PPO. Whereas with original Medicare, you can see anyone that accepts Medicare with the Medicare Advantage plans, there's a preferred provider organization. Now, in my plan, even through work, we've had a PPO for, I don't know, decades, and I've never been a problem. But you want to make sure, Blue Cross Blue Shield or whichever carrier you use, make sure that your doctors are in there, of course, and it's going to do what you want it to do. Understanding also that even with these coverages, you still got out-of-pocket costs. All right. In fact, 9 out of 10 Americans in retirement are confident that they can pay for their future health care costs, right? However, the amount is like $4,000 is the amount retirees currently spend each year in health care costs. And most of their health care costs have yet to come. So one of the things when it comes to, most people think they have it covered, but they're not really, I don't think, understanding. A lot of times people think once they hit Medicare that, oh, we're all set. But just think of what I just was talking about. The premiums alone on Part B and Part D, there's $170 a month per person. So for a couple, that's $340 plus your Medicare supplement. All of a sudden you could be easily looking at, between $500 and $600 a month. So that's $6,000 or $7,000 a year in out-of-pocket costs, and still have, all right, and that's just for the insurances and everything. You still could have additional copays and stuff that you're paying in addition to that. The amount and healthcare costs are going up much more, at more than double the rate of inflation. And this is the average, this statistic may surprise you, but $220,000 is what a typical 65-year-old couple now would need to cover their health care costs in retirement. Think of that, $220,000. Have you set aside $220,000 just for that? There are ways that you can cover that and to minimize that cost, by the way, reduce it and cover it more easily. And I do that as a part of when I do a retirement income analysis. It's looking at healthcare costs. How can we minimize those, and how can we make the best use of the of Medicare and which plan to elect? Looking at Medicare Advantage plans, for instance, and other things as a way to reduce your costs, and ways that you can set up your savings to help accommodate, or accommodate, basically, I guess the best way to put it, the inflationary costs of healthcare as they go up as well. So again, if you're one of the first 10 callers to my office, we can do all this for you, okay? So one of the first 10 callers to my office, 615-376-5325. Tessa's standing by. She'll get your information. We're going to do up a full-blown comprehensive retirement plan for you. And this retirement income analysis is to show, basically, make sure you're going to have enough income, and then it's going to increase, right? We've got inflation. You got to think of factors like inflation, taxes, of course, how much money are you going to make on your money, what kind of income streams are you going to have in addition to that. What are your withdrawals going to be needed to cover your expenses in retirement? And again, those expenses are going to go up. If you think about it, if you need $60,000 as an example to maintain your current standard of living, then in 10 years' time, that means you're going to need close to $80,000 to cover the same thing. So now let's just take that out another step. If you need $120,000, okay, to cover your current lifestyle expenses, your monthly expenses, just to maintain your standard of living, then what does that mean for you in 30 years? That means you're going to need about $160,000 to cover what $120,000 covers today. So having a plan that's going to make sure that you're earning enough on your money, because you might want to have it all sitting in the bank, but what's the problem? You're losing purchasing power. Right? You've got to have an investment plan, a safe investment plan that's going to help you stay ahead of taxes and inflation and maintain the purchasing power of those dollars so that your income is able to go up and maintain that standard of living and quality of life again, all right? How about long-term care? Is this an area that you're concerned about? Now that's one, you know, again, your family situation, maybe that's something that's been prevalent in the family. Maybe you've never had any, you know, concerns for it, but understanding how long-term care works and understanding when we're talking about Medicare, guess what? Medicare does not cover long-term care expenses. I mean, the most you might get is maybe 100 days, a few months worth. So if you had, like, you know, God forbid, a stroke, or you have a joint replacement or something like that, and you're in a rehab type facility to get better from that, you know, they may cover up to, you know, a few months of that, but that's about the extent of it. After that, you're going to be paying out of pocket unless you have a long-term care plan, and understanding what those costs. And you don't need necessarily to cover all the costs, understanding other resources you have, and how does that Medicare plan, if you need a long-term care plan rather, how does it, you know, blend in? How much do you need? What's the elimination period? How much can you cover on your own before you need insurance? And then how much insurance do you need to supplement your other income to help cover those expenses? The goal being that we get the right plan, if a plan is needed, is all. And if so, we minimize costs in doing so. So long-term care wild card, $265,000. This is the average nursing home costs are expected to reach by age in the next 10 years, basically. So think about that. That's a lot of money. And this is, now this statistic about 70%, I want to cover that kind of briefly. In my experience, I don't see anything near that in my practice. All right. But again, you have to look at your situation. So will 70% of people over the age of 65 needing long-term care? Maybe that falls into some of those joint replacements where it's just for a couple of months kind of thing, as opposed to long-term needs. Again, you look at your family situation. Next slide is $265,000 at extra cost. So making sure that there's resources to cover the costs of long-term care, if there is a need of that, is a part of it. And then, of course, learning about long-term care insurance so that you understand the types of policies, what they cover, how much is needed, and how the tax implications, by the way, on those as well is another factor. And then there are other things we want to look at when it comes to retirement. Social travel is one of the most desired activities. I know for me, I love to travel. Physical, staying active, this is huge, right? Being able to, you know, keep moving, all right? It's a great way of keeping yourself healthy and being able to stay active in retirement. And it goes not just physically, but mentally, staying engaged. This is why I have a number of people that continue to work, because they find it mentally stimulating. They enjoy it. It's something to look forward to each time. Now, another thing, now we're going to get back to investing for a little bit. I want you to periodically review risk tolerance. When I meet with clients and we set up a plan for them, the next part is that we have to make sure we keep on track with that plan. So we have to do regular reviews, you know, at least once, twice a year, sometimes more frequently, but at least that once or twice a year where you're doing a little tax planning and you're checking to make sure that your plan is staying on track. As you're going into retirement, life's going to happen, things are going to come your way, and as those things happen, we may need to tweak your plan to make sure we accommodate those and still be able to do what the main things, attain and maintain your standard of living and quality of life, right? So let's take a look at the next slide. And then protection, by the way, is another piece of this. So it's not only about how much your investments are earning, but making sure you're protecting that money against market downturns and other fluctuations that may happen. So one way that you can minimize market fluctuation, asset allocation again. There are other things that you can diversify, other strategies that you can employ that will have some hedging, if you will, protection against market downturns. So one, again, diversification, spreading your investments over multiple asset classes. That's where that asset allocation piece comes in. That goes back again to the academic research that we rely on, which shows us that this in fact worked. Asset allocation is going to in fact be the biggest determinant of your returns on your portfolio. And proper asset allocation, difference there, it's a difference between, potentially between running out of money and not running out of money, in particular with regard to down markets. So key to minimizing your risk in retirement is also, when it comes to asset allocation, we've talked a little bit about portfolio design. I won't get into that as deep this morning, but one of the things, hedging strategies, there are ways that you can blend together stocks, bonds, and even fixed annuities. And these fixed index annuities, when blended in places some bonds, can help minimize your risk, but at the same time give you the desired rate of return, that market return that we're seeking, but again with a lot less risk than if we just put it all, say, in an S&P 500 index fund as an example. All right. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to get into a little bit more with regard to the retirement, different type of investing plans that you can utilize, and a couple other things if we have time. So join me here. We'll be right back on the Retirement Report.